Dear Penn State community, as you may know, in March, about a month ago, Oklahoma's SAE fraternity recorded a video of a racist chant, them saying that they would rather lynch a nigger, and yes, they said the word nigger, than let one join their fraternity. The release of this video shocked the country because it demonstrated the amount of racism that still resides on college campuses all over the country. As fine as our institution may be, and yes, we have a pretty fine institution, we are no exception to this racism. The racism at Penn State is very prevalent and is explicitly evident in events on campus such as the sorority-hosted Mexican party in 2012, portraying all Mexicans as low-life drug addicts and alcoholics, or the racially charged tweets about the behavior of blacks in the hub by a white female freshman last year. Or even this December that just passed, the typhoons of hurtful, hateful, racist comments and threats against black students on campus via social media in response to the dying protests against racial injustice. Could you believe that there were threats made on our lives because we were protesting injustice? Things like this make me think back to the time when I first came up here to Penn State during my new student orientation. And we were told the We Are story, and it was that Penn State had earned its right to play in the Cotton Bowl against SMU, some Southern university, and SMU wanted to talk to Penn State about leaving its one black player behind, and one of the Penn State's players was like, no, there's nothing to talk about because we are Penn State. And they played the game and they won the game, but this chant, we are, became the battle cry of all Penn Staters. It was the idea that no matter who you were, as long as you were a Penn Stater, you were part of the Penn Stater family. However, as a minority, I don't feel as though I am a part of the Penn State family. I feel as though we, students of color, are excluded and we're outsiders. Because if we were truly part of this Penn State family, we would not be dealing with discrimination from our own family members. Because if we were family, you wouldn't follow me around whenever I go into the store because of my race. Because if we were family, you wouldn't label me a thug for wearing a hoodie because of my race. Because if we were family, you wouldn't call me white for caring about my education, assuming that people of my race are like intellectually inferior. If we were family, you wouldn't constantly question my admission into this university by saying that the only reason I got here was because I was black, or that the only reason I got here was because of affirmative action. Not because I worked my ass off. Not because I was smart. Not because I worked hard like the rest of you guys. All of these remarks are a subtle type of discrimination called microaggressions. Microaggressions are the subtle actions and biases in everyday interactions that denigrate individuals that belong to a certain group. On our campus, there are numerous microaggressions that happen to minority students on a daily basis that oftentimes go unseen. These microaggressions create uncomfortable and unwelcoming environment for us minorities, and it fosters feelings of inferiority, hatred, anger, and frustration. It leads to only poor race relations amongst us people, amongst our family, the community that we're supposed to be upon. The communities, but the whole Penn State community, at least the white part of the Penn State community, is unaware of these issues because they're blinded by their ignorance and lack of knowledge on this issue. This same ignorance is what leads to the perpetuation of discrimination, and that's what lets it and allows it to keep happening to go unnoticed. This is the problem. My solution to this problem is to raise awareness of the discrimination faced by minority students on a daily basis. I propose that we should send emails out to every student, post posters around campus weekly that list instances of discrimination minorities have experienced during that week. This will publicize the issue similar to how PSU alerts system does so for sexual assaults. In doing this, we will push the often unseen, overlooked problem of discrete racism into the open, which will make more people aware of what's going on. In addition to this, we should campaign for a column in the Collegian and create a website that contains the stories of minorities who face racial discrimination right here on campus. This will give a voice to the victims that are so often silenced by ignorance, often silenced by neglect. These measures will not solve the issue of racial discrimination, but will force it into the light and consequently into conversation, which is the first step toward change. The plan is feasible for a number of reasons. One is a low cost to the university because all we'll be doing is creating a listserv, website, and posters. It won't take that long time to implement. It's very simplistic. No issue about getting people involved. A lot of minorities want to do this because I know a lot of minorities that want to do this. And the first step would just be to get people on board and just get it out there. I predict we will face some opposition from people who don't believe that race is a relevant issue or who just don't want to be bothered by discrimination. They will most likely not read the emails or skip over the columns in the Collegian if we get those and never visit the website. But even if they do these things, the fact of the matter is that we will be constantly drawing their attention to the issue with the publication of this issue. The plan isn't designed to force people to stop discriminating. Don't get that twisted. The point of the plan is to publicize the issue so much that people will no longer be able to ignore it. Discrimination is so easily ignored on campus that it's imperative that we make it impossible to ignore. If we raise enough awareness to spark conversation, more people will hopefully realize what covert racism looks like. And once they can see it, they can stop it. The effort to raise awareness of racial discrimination is similar to the effort to raise awareness for sexual assault that Penn State is dealing with. On July 1st, 2014, Penn State set up the system PSU Alert, an email system that informs every student on campus about a sexual assault. While sexual assault is still rampant and there's still problems, but measures have proven that the PSU Alert, with the implementation of the PSU Alert, in a 2014 report released by the university, the overall amount of sexual assaults has decreased by a significant amount. My idea has not been done before. I don't know why, but I think it's because so many people believe that it's maybe too simplistic. I know there have been previous attempts in the past to raise racial awareness through mandating students to take classes or mandating students to attend the diversity program. These approaches are great, but the problem with them is that some students will just do it just to go through the motions and get their credit and be done with it and won't learn much. But the beauty of my plan is I'm not going to force people to stop discriminating. The plan is literally engineered to drive even the least caring person to realize it is a legitimate issue. Once the issue is constantly brought into awareness, constantly brought into public consciousness, and no longer cast to the side, it will force people to acknowledge the realities of the people that are often neglected. And maybe, just maybe, when our problems are realized, when maybe people start getting paid in this mind, then maybe we might just believe that we too are Penn State. Thank you for listening.